Now available in paperback and Kindle, All About Marilyn. Learn all about the struggles of a faded former teen sitcom star in this absolutely fabulous 5-star screenplay. Get All About Marilyn in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.com today.
Hollywood Historical Women in Crisis.
One of my viewers wanted me to do another installment in the Hollywood Historical Women in Crisis series. And for this installment in the Hollywood Historical Women in Crisis series, I'm going to be talking about actress Natalie Wood and her sister Lana Wood. Now, the first Hollywood historical woman in crisis I'm going to be talking about is legendary 20th century actress Natalie Wood. Now, Natalie Wood was a legendary 20th century actress who starred in multiple iconic 20th century films such as Miracle on 34th Street, Rebel Without a Cause, West Side Story, Splendor in the Grass, Sex and the Single Girl, and Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice. Now, Natalie Wood was put on the road to becoming a woman in crisis by her hypergamous mother, who saw her mother participating in hypergamy during the Russian Revolution. Now, Natalie Wood's mother saw her husband killed during the Russian Revolution in a street fight between the Red Army and White Russian soldiers in Vladivostok, and that's where Natalie Wood's grandmother took her mother and fled to Shanghai, China, and then eventually wound up relocating to Vancouver, where Natalie Wood's mother wound up marrying another man in 1927. And when her mother went out here and remarried that man, it basically put Natalie Wood on the road to becoming a woman in crisis, because as her mother saw this dysfunctional model, she then adopted this model to her own life, where she went out here and married one man, and as she married one man, she then wound up divorcing that man who she had one daughter by, and then decided to go out here and marry Natalie Wood's father. Now, Natalie Wood's father then bought a home in Santa Rosa, California, and it was in Santa Rosa where they had his daughter Natalie, who also known as Natalie Zakarenko at the time. And as Natalie Zakarenko and her mother were walking down in Santa Rosa, they noticed a film crew shooting a film, and Natalie Wood's mother introduced her daughter to the director, who tried to dissuade her from bringing her child into the entertainment industry, talking about how it just destroys a child's life. However, Natalie Wood's hypergamous mother, who wanted to go out here and monkey branch to a higher social status, Wood insisted on bringing her daughter into the entertainment industry and insisted on putting her on the road to becoming a child actor. And as she put her on the road to becoming a child actor, she basically put Natalie Wood on the road to becoming a woman in crisis. Now, Natalie Zakarenko had her name changed to Natalie Wood by RKO executives David Lewis and William Getz, who changed her name to Natalie Wood to make her appear to be more appealing to American audiences, and also make a tribute to filmmaker Sam Wood. And as Natalie was working in films at a young age, her sister Svetlana Zakarenko was born in 1946 and had her name changed to Lana Wood when she started acting in the entertainment industry soon after Natalie Wood. Now, Natalie Wood started working in films like Happy Land, and then went on to star in other films like Tomorrow Is Forever, where she was made to cry on cue by her mother, who tore a butterfly to pieces in front of her so that she could cry for that scene. And again, this was the type of cruelty that her mother put her through in order to get her to have a career. And this cruelty that Natalie Wood's mother put her through had her working on multiple films at a time, including the iconic film Miracle on 34th Street, where she played the cynical young girl Susan, who basically, I think her name was Susan, who was out here who didn't believe in Edmund Gwen's Santa Claus, who this film basically again was a commentary on consumerism and also was a powerful film that basically resonates to audiences almost a century later. This was considered to be the first of Natalie Wood's signature roles in her long storied career. And as Natalie Wood had this first signature role, she then went on to continue on with her career doing multiple kinds of roles in multiple kinds of films, and was also even a part of the evolving TV genre, which was with ABC's Pride of the Family, where she played a teen daughter. And as Natalie Wood became a teenager, she started to chafe under the domineering authority of her mother. And as she chafed under the authority of her mother, she basically dreamed of wanting to have her own family, and she really wanted to go out here and get married and have children. But that all of that was thwarted by her mother, who kept her on the road to staying in entertainment. Now, Natalie Wood, as she was rebelling against her mother, got involved with a pookie, and as she got involved with this bad boy in Hollywood, she wanted to go out here and get married to that guy, and even took his wedding ring. However, what happened was that Natalie Wood's mother came in and insisted that the marriage not happen, and as a result, Natalie Wood wound up becoming very sad as related to her quest to have a normal life. And as her mother put her on this road to this quest for stardom, she wound up in a very bad place, because as her mother had these ambitions to go out here and try to get her higher up in the Hollywood social scene, she arranged a meeting between her and a actor who was prominent, who some speculate to be Kirk Douglas. And it was at that meeting with that prominent actor that Natalie Wood claims that she was sexually violated by this prominent actor, who some claim to be Kirk Douglas. Now, after having this type of trauma in her life, this made Natalie Wood very neurotic. This and an incident on the set of a movie which led to her breaking her wrist. This was another incident that led to Natalie Wood having a series of neuroses. And after that incident with the where she got her wrist broken on this film, where she was supposed to walk across a bridge, and wound up getting where the bridge wound up giving way too soon, and she wound up having to climb her way out of it, Natalie Wood started to develop a fear of water, and that fear was compounded by something that her mother told her, that an old gypsy woman told her about her daughter, that her daughter would wind up having great success, but would wind up dying by water. And it's all of these fears and neuroses that made Natalie Wood a woman who was struggling with a lot of anxieties and a lot of issues as related to her life. I mean, in between the broken wrist, which gave her a complex about her own wrist to the point where she was wearing bracelet cuffs to cover up the wrist that had a bone protruding due to the way it was broken, and the fact that her mother didn't even get her medical treatment. This is what led to Natalie Wood having serious complexes as related to herself, and these complexes gave her a sense of low self-esteem. But all of these issues as related to Natalie Wood's mental health did not matter to her mother, who wanted to see her daughter have all of this success, and didn't see that the greatest success a woman like Natalie Wood could have had was being married to a man and having her own family. That's what Natalie Wood really wanted, but her mother wanted her to be an A-list celebrity. And as she was on this quest to make her daughter an A-list celebrity, Natalie Wood rebelled, but she rebelled to the point where she wanted to be a part of a film which went on to become her next signature role, and that film was Rebel Without a Cause. Now, in this film, Rebel Without a Cause, she was starring opposite another man in crisis, James Dean, and was playing this rebellious teenage girl. And as she played this rebellious teenage girl, she was out here trying to, again, be this juvenile delinquent in her own personal life, rebelling against her mother. And this film was considered to be the second signature role for Natalie Wood. And it was considered to be the second signature role for her because Rebel Without a Cause is an iconic film in American history. Now, as Natalie Wood went on to star in this film, she got another Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress, and she went out here and then after doing that film went on to do other appearances like Studio One and Hollywood, Camera 3, Kings Row, Studio 57, and Warner Brothers Presents, and also starred in films like The Searchers and A Cry in the Night, all before graduating high school. Now, as she was graduating high school, she continued working, but she was still having issues with her personal life. Now, Natalie Wood always had a thing for actor Robert Wagner and wanted to go out here and marry Robert Wagner, and eventually did wind up marrying actor Robert Wagner in 1957. However, the marriage wound up deteriorating because Natalie Wood could not go out here and have a relationship with Robert Wagner the way she wanted because both actors were working, and there were allegations that Robert Wagner basically cheated on Natalie Wood, possibly with another man. These are the things that were speculated leading to the deterioration of that marriage, which led to that marriage basically ending around 1962, as Natalie Wood had gone from a child star to becoming an ingenuine, a girl who was basically young and naive. And as she started to become this young and naive woman, ingenuine in her roles, she went on to start starring in other kinds of films like Splendor in the Grass. Now, Splendor in the Grass is considered to be another signature role for Natalie Wood because she got to work with legendary director Elia Kazan, and as she worked with legendary director Elia Kazan, she had to go out here and try to make a performance similar to Vivian Lee, who was another woman in crisis I talk about. Now, Natalie Wood, again, took this film, and as she took this film, it became another signature role because she took a major risk in this film where she was doing her first nude scene, and she also was out here facing another fear of water. And as she was out here, again, dealing with these issues as related to this role, basically what happened to Natalie Wood as related to this character is that she's basically was dealing with a lot of issues as related to her own personal life. And as she was dealing with issues in her own personal life, she was learning how to do method acting. Now, the Splendor in the Glass role basically led to another Natalie Wood receiving nominations for an Academy Award, a Golden Globe Award, and a BAFTA Award for Best Actress in a Leading Role, and again led to her taking her stardom to the next level. But Natalie Wood was extremely miserable, even though she had all of this great success, and went on to play the role of a Puerto Rican girl in her third or fourth signature role, West Side Story. And as she played in West Side Story, which was a huge hit, Natalie Wood was critically acclaimed once more, and then went on to star in another great film, Gypsy, opposite Rosalind Russell. And this was another role that was considered her signature role because she was playing another woman I talked about as another woman in crisis, Gypsy Rose Lee. And as she played these roles of these ingenuines, Natalie Wood got a third Academy Award nomination for Love with the Proper Stranger, so she was on her way to great success. Unfortunately, her personal life was in shambles, and while she went out here and started dating, she really wanted to go out here and have a family. That was the dream that Natalie Wood had, but even though she had the great success, she couldn't have the marriage and family that she wanted, and she eventually wound up leaving Hollywood for a moment to go out here after the film Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice to marry producer Richard Gregson, where she had her first daughter. And that marriage basically went on for a while until it deteriorated when Natalie Wood found out that Richard Gregson was having an affair on her behind her back. Now, Natalie Wood was an extremely attractive woman who had everything that a guy could dream of, but she wound up getting involved with toxic men because of the model that she had seen when she was younger from her hypergamous mother, who learned hypergamy from her grandmother. And again, as this hypergamous pattern of looking for men who had prominent success was passed on, Natalie Wood basically never learned how to have a successful relationship with a man. And because she never learned how to have a successful relationship with a man, this basically led to her becoming a woman in crisis, because she wanted to again have a family, but it was hard for her to learn to have a family when she grew up seeing her mother in dysfunction that she learned from her mother. And as she learned dysfunction from her mother, it further put Natalie Wood on the road to becoming a woman in crisis, and she retired from acting for a while, and after the thing to try to build a family, but couldn't build a family. And she couldn't build a family because she never really saw a model for a functional family. Now, after the marriage to Richard Gregson, she failed. She decided to go out here and decided to marry Robert Wagner once more. And as she married Robert Wagner once more, she had a second daughter. And as she had the second daughter, she then went on to go out here and look to just have a television career where she would do films here and there, because her dream was to go out here and have that middle class family. She wanted to have a family with together, but the sad part was she, even though she tried to have a family, she just could not make things work, and that's what led to situations with her life getting worse, because she wanted to have that love of a family. She wanted to have that love of a family. She wanted to come together to have a family. And she herself was looking forward to the end of her career, because as she got older, she understood that as she was getting older, that the roles were not going to come to her. So she was actually looking forward to walking away from entertainment. And even though she still had a lot of success with the television remake of From Here to Eternity, where she got a Golden Globe Award and was doing very well and continuing to get movies like the film Brainstorm, which was her last film. Now, this last film basically showed how bad the marriage between her and Robert Wagner had deteriorated, because Robert Wagner, ironically, had all of these insecurities about Natalie Wood being involved with her co-star Christopher Walken at the time. Now, Christopher Walken had just come off his Academy Award-winning performance and had great success, and Robert Wagner was doing well on TV with Heart to Heart, but TV is lower than film, and I guess he was feeling insecure about his wife being out here with a guy who was a movie star, and he feared that his wife would monkey branch over to another man. But he really had nothing to fear, because, again, Natalie Wood was a 43-year-old woman at the time, and with her being a 43-year-old woman who had one foot in a grave as related to her career and one foot in a banana peel, he had nothing to fear as related to her being on this movie, Brainstorm, which was one of the big flops, I believe, of the 80s. I mean, this film basically was something that she was doing just to get a paycheck, and he thought that she was going to have an affair with Christopher Walken, and that's what led to the argument on the day where she sadly wound up passing away. Now, Natalie Wood, as she was on Robert Wagner's boat, what happened was she was basically out here looking to, again, do something on that boat. It's speculated that either she had gotten drunk and then had fallen over the edge of the boat, but she wound up in the water and wound up drowning, sadly winding up fulfilling the thing that the old gypsy woman said. And as she wound up fulfilling what the gypsy woman predicted as related to the end of her life, sadly, Natalie Wood didn't wound up leaving this world, a woman in crisis, again, never having any sort of peace as related to her life. And that is the saddest part about Natalie Wood's life that really parallels a lot of feminists out here. A lot of feminists go out here looking to have a career, looking to go out here and make the big money, looking to be the big star. And what happens is they never get any peace. And Natalie Wood, I believe, definitely would have traded all of that success and all of that fame so that she could have had that family. I believe what happened with Natalie Wood is that she wanted to have that family, wanted to have that life, but sadly she wound up on the road that many feminists say is supposed to be the great success, but never got any of that success, and sadly her death ended with a mystery where we won't know if she wound up dying as a result of the motion sickness pill and painkiller and alcohol that were combined and that led to her drowning, or if it's, as others have speculated, maybe she possibly wound up dying due to foul play. But when I look at Natalie Wood's life, it's a great tragedy of a woman who never got to live an abundant life like the Most High has for most women. No, she got to live the feminist life model, and that feminist life model basically led to Natalie Wood winding up on the road to becoming a woman in crisis. Now, the second Hollywood historical woman in crisis I'm going to be talking about is Lana Wood. Now, Lana Wood is the sister of Natalie Wood, and she was basically put on the same road to becoming a woman in crisis that her sister was by her hypergamous mother. Now, Natalie Wood and Lana Wood's mother basically wound up on the road to becoming a woman in crisis herself when she saw her mother participating in hypergamy during the Russian Revolution, where Natalie and Lana Wood's grandfather was killed in a street fight in 1922, and their grandmother had to monkey branch over and marry another man. And as they married that other man, they immigrated from a Russian community to China, and then came to America. And then as they came to America, Natalie Wood and Lana Wood's mother then got married to another man after she had a marriage with an auto mechanic that failed, and then went on to marry another man who became the father of Natalie and Lana Wood, who was originally named Svetlana Lisa Gurdon, but had her name changed to Lana Wood so that she could go out here and try to build on Natalie Wood's brand name. Now, Natalie Wood's sister, Lana Wood, went on to become an actress and was driven just as hard as her sister, Natalie, by their mother. Now, oftentimes, Lana Wood would participate in many of the films that Natalie Wood starred in, and would oftentimes be placed in background roles in many of those films which Natalie Wood appeared. Now, Lana Wood's career took off in the 1960s as she started to star in dramas like The Long Hot Summer, and also got a role on the soap Peyton Place, which she played Sandy Weber for 1966 to 1967. Now, Lana Wood could have been an even bigger star had she taken the Karen Black role in the classic 1969 film Easy Rider, but she wound up turning down that film, and she regrets it and says it's one of the worst mistakes she made in her career. And after she wound up not taking the Easy Rider role, she was then cast as a James Bond girl, Plenty O'Toole, in the James Bond film Diamonds Are Forever, and then later on in 1970 posed for Playboy and did a pictorial which was featured in the 1971 issue of April along with her poetry. And Lana Wood also went on to star in 20 other films and had over 300 guest appearances in multiple shows like The Fugitive, Bonanza, Mission Impossible, and The Wild Wild West, and eventually wound up retiring from acting around 1982, focusing on a career behind the scenes, and had, a long long promising career. Unfortunately, Lana Wood, because of that long career, became a woman in crisis because she could not go out here and build a family the same way her sister Natalie Wood was unable to build and maintain a family. Now, like Natalie Wood, Lana Wood wanted to have a family and wanted to have a life outside of Hollywood. Unfortunately, she was never able to do that because what happened was she was indoctrinated into this feminist life paradigm by her hypergamous mother. And sadly, Lana Wood, like Natalie Wood, became just like her mother, unable to maintain a healthy relationship with a man and unable to maintain and have a relationship that was with a man because Lana Wood sadly wound up getting married 6 times over the course of her life. And as she got married almost 6 times in the course of her life, she never really was able to go out here and be able to have a relationship with a man. And I believe the reason why she wasn't able to have a relationship with a man was because she possibly saw the dysfunctional way that her mother treated her own father, and her seeing her mother mistreat her father and her father not take a leadership role in the home to assert that his daughters would have a normal life. This made it where she possibly was unable to trust a man, unable to go out here and be able to have faith in a man, moreover, unable to submit to the authority of a man because she did not have faith in that man to go out here and protect her. Because due to the dysfunctional model that Lana Wood learned from her mother and her grandmother taught to her, this basically made it where Lana Wood, like her sister Natalie Wood, never really learned how to be able to fully commit or trust a man. And in the world of Hollywood, where people are basically bed hopping like they're like a bunch of jumping beans going from one to the other, this made it where Lana Wood possibly never was able to go out here and fully commit to a man because most of her marriages basically ended in less than a year, outside of one which she had with Richard Smedley. And outside of that one marriage, all of her marriages basically wound up falling completely apart. And they wound up falling completely apart because she basically had a foundation in dysfunction that was taught to her by her mother. And as she learned this dysfunction from her mother as related to relationships with men, this was passed on to Lana Wood, which led to her having a series of failed marriages, and a series of failed marriages to the point where she basically wound up eventually giving up on marriage and wound up getting involved with one guy, Alan Feinstein, towards the end. And as she got involved with this one guy, she basically was technically married to him, never had a ceremony, but was still with this one man. But this woman basically was a woman in crisis and put on a road to dysfunction ever since she was born in this world. And again, sadly, Lana Wood wound up becoming on the same road to dysfunction that her sister wound up on, even though she's still going on today. But sadly, she could have gone on to have a more abundant life had she not been indoctrinated into this pre-feminist paradigm. And it was this pre-feminist paradigm that basically put Lana Wood on this bad road. And again, on this bad road where she basically felt like she was going nowhere. And again, she's a woman in crisis, and a woman in crisis because she never got to, again, go out here and really have a life because her mother's ambitions as related to fame put her on the road where everything was about a career. But this career road basically made it where Lana Wood wound up on the same road of dysfunction that her sister Natalie wound up on, and that whole dysfunctional road of fame and Hollywood basically put her on the road to becoming a woman in crisis. Now, if you want to learn more about what leads to many women out here winding up on a road to becoming a woman in crisis and winding up on a road where they never find peace or happiness and stay dysfunctional for the rest of their lives, you can pick up my book, The Woman Crisis, on Amazon.com. in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Woman Crisis at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and Target. And if you'd like to see me make more videos about historical women in crisis, you can send a donation to the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback. From the author of the critically acclaimed book The Man Crisis comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women have become lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Get your copy of The Woman Crisis in paperback at Amazon.com and online booksellers today.